Welcome back, everyone. This is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about WWE Crown Jewel 2021 live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia at the Mohammed Abdu Arena. A show that I consider to be the best WWE show that they have done in Saudi Arabia since this partnership started back in 2018 with the first show of the greatest Royal Rumble. I think every show, including that one up to this point, has come off more as a glorified super house show with some very awful matches and just some very bitter tastes left in your mouth following the result of a lot of those early shows. This one, heading into it, had a very stacked card, had a very hyped up feel to it, including especially with the main event being what it was, with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So with that, and being the show with the finale, the finals, I should say, of the King of the Ring tournament and the Queen's Crown tournament, despite that tournament not being done as best as it could have been. Also had a Hell in a Cell match, a Falls Count Anywhere match. So this was a big show. This was a very big, well-promoted show, and I thought it paid off. So, very excited to talk about it. One of my favorite shows that WWE has put on this entire year. And the crowd was excellent. They were on fire all night. There was hardly any dull points for the crowd. Maybe some of you could notice them a little bit better than me, but I thought they were just awesome all night. So we'll get into all of that. But first, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right here on the channel, DerekJ Speaks, and follow me on Twitter, also at DerekJ Speaks, where I talk every single week about wrestling, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, whatever I want to talk about. Also, anything related to movies, TV shows, music, whatever I feel like talking about, I talk about it right on there. So come join me every single week. Also getting updates on when I post my next video. I currently do not have a regular schedule of posting videos. It's pretty much whenever I feel like it, every single month. But until then, I'll keep you posted right there. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this review of Crown Jewel. So let's start off with the kickoff show. We had the Usos taking on the Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Since the last time I've been on here talking to you guys, the Hurt Business reformed, nowhere near as strong or dominant or cool as they once were, but they are back together, and it gave us a pretty good match here. I thought it was fine for what it was, but it led to a very predictable finish, I would say. The Usos take down Shelton Benjamin with the double super kick, but Cedric Alexander got the blind tag. He comes in, dives off the top, but the Usos duck out of the way, come back around, hit the double super kick on Cedric. Then both Usos go up top, come down with a double splash, and 1, 2, 3. Usos win. Not much more to it other than that. Pretty good for while it lasted. But the show kicked off with what I have to assume and what is arguably the best match of the entire show and one of the best matches of the entire year, as the climax to one of the best rivalries of the entire year in any promotion, let alone just WWE. That being Edge versus Seth Rollins. This was incredible. This was an excellent match. One of the best Hell in a Cell matches we've had in many years, especially one involving the men. The women have killed it the last few years. We had Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks a few years ago. We had Bayley and Sasha Banks last year. So the women have been holding it down inside Hell in a Cell, but the men have been slacking especially with the finishes of a lot of these Hell in a Cell matches with the men. But here, Edge and Rollins put on a masterclass of storytelling. Up to this point, I've thought every single match that they have had has been at the very least good, if not fantastic. I think every single match has built on top of the other one. The story has progressed very nicely up to this nice crescendo of intensity, of ruthlessness, and I thought it paid off very well here. So my hat's off to both Seth Rollins and Edge, especially Seth, who redeemed himself from previous entries inside Hell in a Cell, including the last time he was in one with The Fiend. So he definitely redeemed himself here. But let's get into some of the spots of this match. We had steel chairs introduced by Edge in particular. He broke a piece off of the chair. That's what he used on Roman Reigns, where he would use the piece of the chair to lock in a crossface and kind of yank back on Roman. He tried to use that on Seth, but Seth was able to avoid it, but he later used it to his own advantage. Edge locked in a regular crossface, and when Rollins was trying to escape, he grabbed that piece of the chair and jammed it right in Edge's eye, and that incapacitated Edge for a little bit. We see one of the best table spots I've ever seen in a wrestling match before, including a Hell in a Cell match, and something that I'm not sure we've ever had in a Hell in a Cell match before up to this point. We see Rollins go up top. He's going for the Phoenix Splash on Edge, but before he can even hit it, Edge comes over, knocks Rollins off, and knocks him to the outside of the ring, out by the cell wall. So try to paint this visual if you didn't see it. He knocks Rollins off the top. Rollins hits the side of the cell and then crashes down through a table on the floor. I just thought the entire sequence of motion of this spot looked perfect, and it was amazing. It did not look like a pretty landing for Rollins, but I thought it came off very cool and one of the best spots of the entire match and of the entire night for that matter. Edge hit the Edge-O-Matic onto some steel steps, and the sound that it made, the echo that it made, was very booming. So again, did not seem like a pretty good night for Rollins up to this point, but he was able to get some payback in there. He hit the pedigree, only good for a 2 count, but then he went for the curb stomp. He goes for the stomp. Edge catches him right in midair, in position for a power bomb, and Edge proceeds to hit Rollins with the buckle bomb. Launches him right into the turnbuckle. So takes a page out of Rollins' book, but Rollins, not to be upstaged, he bounces off and he hits his own spear on Edge. But that also only good for a 2 count. So Seth is getting frustrated. He's introducing the toolboxes again, and I'm thinking, oh God, here we go again with this stuff. But it played out for a reason. So this led to Rollins wrapping a steel chain around his boot as he's gearing up to give Edge a stomp and take him out for good. This is playing off of the stomp that he hit on Edge back in their match at Madison Square Garden, where Edge got the whole stretcher job and everything. Rollins is looking to finish Edge for good here. So he gets the chain, wraps it around his foot. He's got a steel chair down. He's ready to just plant Edge's face right into this chair. So as Rollins charges at Edge, goes for the stomp, Edge catches him right where the sun don't shine, gets him with a steel chair with a low blow right into Rollins, preventing him from having any further babies with Becky Lynch, I'm sure. So Rollins goes down. Edge then proceeds to wrap the steel chain around Rollins. He wraps it around his face, then he just wraps it around his whole body, and he's just locking Rollins in, yanking back on him. Rollins is trying to crawl at the tool bag, the toolbox, whatever it was. He's trying to get something out of there. He manages to get a wrench, but then Edge yanks it from him. He uses the wrench to yank back on Rollins and puts it in his mouth and yanks back on his face and all of that. So it looks like we're gearing up for a tap-out victory, or maybe a pass-out or something like that, but then Edge just stops. He suddenly stops everything he's doing. He gets up, he brings the steel chair over, makes sure Rollins' face is right covering it. Then Edge gears back, and he hits a curb stomp of his own, plants Rollins' face right into the steel chair, and gets the 1-2-3. My words don't do it justice. This was a terrific match. I thought it was very well done. And I thought it was the perfect way to finish off one of the best feuds of the year. So, again, hats off to Edge. Hats off to Rollins for putting on an incredible match there. And definitely a tough act to follow. And nothing did follow it. There was no other match on this show that could hold a candle to this one. But we did get some pretty good matches, including the one that came up next, which was Mustafa Ali versus Mansour. Of course, Mansour, being from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, he gets his obligatory match on the show. But this is the first one that had some actual build heading into it, so good for him. Mustafa Ali and Mansour have been tag team partners for the last few months, and Ali got tired of his shit, turned on him, and we get the match here. I thought it was very good for what it was. It was nothing compared to the previous match that we saw, but this show being in Riyadh, and of course Mansour being from Riyadh, he got a huge pop, and the crowd was definitely into him and everything that he was doing. I thought from a historical standpoint, seeing two Muslim wrestlers face each other for the first time ever in WWE, in a feud and program that has nothing to do with their race or their religion or anything like that. It's just two guys who were friends or partners or whatever. One turned on the other one's now pissed. You get the match. That's very rare in cases like this, so hats off to them for that. But it was Mansour who was able to pull out the victory. He avoided a 450 from Ali, and he hit a springboard neck breaker and got the win. After the match, Ali, being the sore loser that he is, went to attack Mansour when all of a sudden, a mysterious figure walked from the back, started walking down the ramp. His face was covered. You couldn't tell who it was. And he gets in the ring, and it's revealed to be, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, DerekJ Hamdi, who is an Olympic silver medalist in karate, and he displayed his skills very quickly when he hit a clean kick right to Ali's head, knocked him down cold. Down goes Ali, and Hamdi and Mansour raise each other's hands and celebrate. Big pop from the crowd, which this was catered directly to this crowd. They knew exactly who it was. They popped huge for it, so good moment for them. I apologize. I did not know who it was. I do not know who he is. I only did a quick lookup of his history. So I apologize for that. But for the crowd reaction alone, I thought it was a nice little special moment. Up next, the Raw Tag Team titles were on the line. RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Riddle defending against AJ Styles and Omos. The biggest, most notable part of this entire match was the entrance of Randy and Riddle, where Riddle came out with Randy, then he went to the back, and he came back out riding a camel. So that was quite the interesting visual there. There was nothing overly special about this match. Standard tag team match with these two teams. Not much different than what we saw at SummerSlam or what we've seen in different variations for the last few weeks, whether it be Randy versus AJ or AJ versus Riddle. It wasn't really all that different, but it was good for what it was. And a very obvious finish with RK Bro retaining their titles. We see AJ go for the phenomenal forearm, gets caught in midair with an RKO. Randy tags in Riddle. Riddle comes flying down with the floating bro and gets the 1-2-3. So the RK Bro still tag team champions. Hopefully this is the end of AJ Styles being stuck in the tag team division. After this, we had the finals of the Queen's Crown tournament, a tournament that has been so unabashedly botched by WWE. Every match going less than 3 minutes. The decision of who has gone over in some of these matches, just the overall presentation or lack thereof, coming off as a complete afterthought in comparison with the King of the Ring tournament. Just felt like, well, we're doing this for the men, so I guess we'll do it for the women. The perception has not been good, and WWE's handling of the women's division these last few months has been very embarrassing, if I'm being quite honest. But with all that being said, I thought Doudrop and Zelina Vega put on a very good match here. By default, it was the best match of the entire tournament simply because it went longer than 3 minutes. In fact, it went almost double that. It went just shy of 6 minutes. So they put on a very good match. I thought the wrestling, it was good, but it was a very shock finish with Zelina Vega hitting a code red and getting the win over Doudrop. If you asked me who I thought was going to win the Queen's Crown tournament, I would not have picked Zelina Vega. But good for her. She looked genuinely happy about it. Good for her. I know she kind of got screwed over a little bit last month on that MSG show, the 9/11 memorial show. Of course, Zelina Vega's father tragically died in the 9/11 attacks, and on that show, she was going to debut new gear. She was going to pay homage and respect to her father. Their match got cut. And basically, their handling of Zelina Vega ever since she returned to the company a few months ago has been very poor. So, her getting a big moment like this, good for her. But I will just say this. If they plan on doing this tournament again, please do it right. Please put more thought into it. Please put more effort into it. Give these women a chance to actually wrestle and showcase what they can do. Give us some exciting, fresh matches with some exciting outcomes, and give us a reason to care about this tournament again. Because if you're going to just do the exact same thing that you did here, you might as well never do it again. If you're not going to do this tournament right, then please never do it again. Speaking of never doing this again, up next we got Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg in a Falls Count Anywhere match. I thought this was a good brawl, but I do not need to see these two face each other again. I think this was a nice finish. Although, Goldberg is a liar. And I'll get into that towards the finish. So the match starts, and Bobby Lashley has a chain hidden in his tights. So he busts that out and just cocks Goldberg right in the face with it. Just cold cocks him right in the face. And Lashley is dominating Goldberg. He's targeting the knee again. He's beating the crap out of Goldberg. He even Pillmanizes Goldberg's leg. So Lashley is unstoppable here. And it looks like he's going to finish him off. He's going to spear him into the corner, into a table that's set up. But then when he goes for the spear, Goldberg sidesteps him. Lashley charges himself into the table. And at that point, Goldberg regains control. He hits a spear. He hits a jackhammer. He has the match won, but Goldberg does not care about winning. He cares about killing Bobby Lashley. That is the specific word that he has been using in all of these promos heading into this match. He has, on several different occasions, threatened to kill Bobby Lashley. And I guess this was his way of going about doing it. He started taking his gloves off. He threw Lashley to the outside. He speared him through the barricade. He tried to slam some steel steps onto Lashley. He had Lashley laid out on the bigger, flatter pair of steps, and he used the smaller one to try to slam Lashley. But then Lashley, right at the last minute, got out of the way. He goes up the ramp, and it looks like it's all a trap for Goldberg, because out comes Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander with kendo sticks. They each have one. They give one to Lashley. They go after Goldberg, and then Goldberg just quickly disposes of them. He gets one of the kendo sticks. He and Lashley have a face-off, for which Goldberg gets the better of, takes down Lashley. And with Lashley teetering over the barricade, it looks like he's going to fall, but not really. We see where this is going. Goldberg hits a big spear and spears Lashley off the ramp, crashing down through some tables that were covered by some kind of carpet or rug or something, probably to brace the fall, and Goldberg gets the win. So he avenges his family. He even stared into the camera. He said, "This is what happens when you mess with my family," or something like that. Very good babyface. Only in fact that he lied, because he's been spending the last month talking about how he's going to kill Bobby Lashley. And what happened? While Goldberg is celebrating his win, we see off to the side, Bobby Lashley stands up and walks to the back. Clearly, he did not get killed. Goldberg failed to deliver on his promise. Therefore, Goldberg is a liar. And I will never trust a single word that Goldberg says ever again, because he promised us that he was going to kill this man, and he did not do any such thing. So, that's my stance. But in all seriousness, this was a good brawl. It was better than what happened at SummerSlam, where Goldberg did almost legitimately try to kill Bobby Lashley with that spot knocking him off the top rope. So, for what it was fine, and it had nothing to do with any championships, so it's okay. Up next was the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. Finn Balor taking on Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods has been crowing about wanting to become the King of the Ring for years. If you've heard him in interviews, if you watch him on Up Up Down Down, his gaming YouTube channel, he has been saying this for years. For years, his dream, his goal was to make sure that Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship and that he himself would win the King of the Ring tournament. And here, on this night, on this day in Saudi Arabia, Xavier Woods got his wish. He and Finn Balor went back and forth. A nice little standard wrestling match back and forth. Balor goes for the sling blade, hits the drop kick into the corner, goes up top, goes for the coup de grace, but then Woods moves out of the way. Woods and Balor exchange a bunch of kicks. Xavier Woods hits more kicks, goes up top, hits the springboard elbow off the top rope, and gets the 1-2-3. We have King Xavier Woods. And just knowing what this guy has talked about in the past, about how much this tournament has meant to him, and how much winning would mean to him, I thought this was a very special moment. Now, of course, it's a nice special moment, but what is the payoff? Where is this going to lead to for Xavier Woods? What is going to be the outcome of this? Is this just going to be a gimmick? Is this just a nice little win? He gets to mark it off on his resume, his bucket list, and now he can move on? Is it not going to play any role? How is this going to affect his relationship with Kofi Kingston now? I have no idea. I can't even venture to guess. I'm almost just going to border on the fact that this is going to have no impact whatsoever. But I would like to believe there's going to be something. He was acting very cocky there. I don't know if that could be a subtle tease of an eventual heel turn down the line, where he lets this get to his head and he embraces the whole King Woods gimmick. I don't know. That does sound intriguing. I think he could pull it off, but I don't know. I don't have that much high expectations. So just isolated on this one particular moment, I'm happy for Xavier Woods. Good for him. Up next, the WWE Championship, Big E facing Drew McIntyre. This was kind of a hoss fight. You have two big guys, big, tough, muscular guys going at it. Not exactly the big, meaty men slapping meat that Big E likes to talk about, but it started pretty slow and a little boring. But then the last few minutes really saved it, because it really cranked up and these two brought it. And I thought they put on a hell of a match. Of the two main championship matches, this was my least favorite, but I did still really enjoy it. And the finish was a lot more satisfying than the other one. So, but I thought it was very good. We see Big E, he hits the big ending, but it's only good for a 2 count. Then he props up Drew, tries to hit it from the top rope, but then Drew hits a bulldog off the top onto Big E. Only good for a 2 count. Drew goes for the Claymore kick. Big E ducks. Then he tries to go for his spear through the ropes because McIntyre was now on the outside on the apron. Big E goes off the ropes on the opposite side. Then when he comes back around, Drew does catch him with the Claymore kick. So down goes Big E. Drew McIntyre goes for the cover. Only good for a 2 count. The fans chant holy shit. I don't know about that, but hey, they're having fun. So McIntyre gets Big E up on his shoulders, and he's going for a big ending of his own, I presume. But E managed to slip out of it. There's a bunch of reversals here, and it ends with Big E hitting yet another big ending, and he gets the win. Very predictable. Drew McIntyre is heading to SmackDown. There was no drama whatsoever to the idea of him winning the WWE Championship here. It's almost like this match should have never even happened in the first place, but you needed a WWE Championship match on the Saudi Arabia show, so there you go. Good for Big E. I'm happy that his reign continues, and that's it. We'll see where these two go. I have to expect that Drew McIntyre will get a shot at Roman and the Universal Championship at some point in the future. Oops, did I spoil the main event? I'm sorry. Just kidding. But yeah, that's that. So good stuff here. Up next, the triple threat for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Becky Lynch defending her championship against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. I thought these 3 women killed it. This was the second best match of the night for me. I thought that they had a tremendous match. Becky Lynch, she's even better now than she was before in a lot of different ways. I think that she has been killing it in the ring so far. Bianca, it is so amazing to watch Bianca Belair and the progression of her and the fan support for her, and she's just improving more and more every single week. And Sasha Banks is easily my favorite of all the women in WWE, and she was the highlight of this match. She kind of felt like a little bit of an afterthought heading into this match based on the build-up. It was still kind of mainly Becky and Bianca carrying the load with their beef, and Sasha was kind of put in there, but then there was not a whole lot of attention on her. So she made up for that big time by being one of the big highlights of this match. But everyone got their own points to shine throughout it. One of the more clever parts of the match were Bianca press slamming Sasha and holding her up above her head with one arm. And that was within the first minute or so of the match. So I thought that was great, and that set the tone very nicely. There's a lot of great group spots, a lot of working together. We saw Becky try to dive off and hit a move on both Bianca and Sasha, but they both caught her and gave her a buckle bomb into the corner. We saw Bianca try to hit a somersault moonsault on both Sasha and Becky, but they both moved out of the way. So with Bianca down, Sasha tries to lock in the bank statement. Becky, I should say, locks in the disarm her. So I thought that was a really cool visual of both of them having their submissions on her. We see Becky try to go for a double disarm her on both women, but then Bianca, using her strength, manages to lift both women at the same time, only temporarily. Sasha slips out first, hits a backbreaker on Bianca. She goes down. So back up, Bianca and Becky start going at it, and Bianca ends up hitting her with the KOD. So down goes Becky. She's right for the covering when Sasha Banks comes in, tries to throw Bianca out, but then Bianca throws Sasha out. She goes back over and tries to cover Becky, but then Sasha pulls her out of the ring. They're fighting on the outside, and then Sasha gets the better of her. She gets back in. She goes to cover Becky, but then Becky cradles Sasha. She pulls on the ropes, which is no DQ, so it's okay. But she pulls on the ropes for leverage, gets the 1, 2, 3, and she barely escapes, but she does retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. So, a very great match. I don't know what this means. Charlotte is the Raw Women's Champion on SmackDown, and Becky Lynch is the SmackDown Women's Champion on Raw. I surmise we're going to get the two women just trading their belts, just like they did with the Tag Team Champions last year. It's dumb, it's lazy, which is exactly why it's right up WWE's alley, and I fully expect them to do it. Then the main event. We have the Universal Championship on the line. Roman Reigns defending against Brock Lesnar. Roman tried his damnedest to avoid going to Suplex City, but he could not escape it for very much longer. He kept throwing elbow shots and tried to grab onto the ropes, doing everything he could to avoid it, but eventually his luck ran out. Brock hit him with a German suplex. But that didn't keep Roman down for very long. Roman rammed Brock face first into the steel post on the outside. Brock's up on the apron and Roman back in the ring. Roman hits him with a Superman punch. Down goes Brock. We see Roman hit a huge dive over the top rope, crashing right into Brock Lesnar. It's rare that we see Roman do this anymore these days, so that was a really cool visual. He got some good height on that dive too. Gets back in the ring, hits a spear, only good for a 2 count. Then Roman starts to hit a bunch of Superman punches. If you've seen any of their previous matches, you know what this looks like. Just spamming his finishers like it's a video game. So he hits a bunch of Superman punches, goes for another spear, but then Brock leapfrogs him. Again, crazy height here, but Brock Lesnar is a freak athlete. So he hits the leapfrog, Roman charges, goes face first into the apron, but then Brock collapses too. So now both men are down. But it's Brock who recovers quicker, and he takes Roman to Suplex City. I don't recall the exact number of German suplexes that he hit on Roman, but it was enough. I want to say it was like 5 or something like that. So a very succinct number. He gets Roman up, hits him with the F5, only good for a 2 count. He tries to get Roman up for another F5, but then Roman reverses it into the guillotine submission. He busts that out every now and then to win some of his matches. Brock escaped it by slamming Roman right down, planted him on the mat. He gets Roman up again, goes for the F5, but the referee is in the way, and you can see it coming a mile away. Roman's boot connects right into referee Charles Robinson's face. Down goes the ref. Brock has the visual pin, but there's no referee to count it. Brock goes over to the ref. He tries to yank him up like he's a suitcase. He's pulling him up by his pants and his belt, but it's to no avail. He turns around, gets hit with a spear. Both Roman and Brock are down. Paul Heyman, who's been out there the entire time, not really reacting to much of anything, he's finally had enough, so to speak, and he throws the Universal Championship belt right into the ring. He says something, I don't recall exactly what it was, like you two fight for it or you deal with it or something like that. So the championship belt is in the ring and it's in the middle between Brock and Roman. Both men go to grab it. They have a little tug of war. Brock is the one who gets it, but then he is met with double super kicks from the Usos, who came out of there right from behind. Double super kick to Brock. Roman gets the belt. He smashes it right over Brock's head. Another referee comes out. 1, 2, 3. The tribal chief is still your Universal Champion. So now the whole story is, who did Paul Heyman intend to give the championship to? Who was he throwing the belt to? That's the big question now coming out of this finish. Shit finish, for sure. It wasn't clean with all the interference and the ref bump and the championship belt and all that. Very dirty, shitty finish, but to be expected. 1, because both men declined this being a no disqualification match, but 2, because it's clearly not the end. This is clearly going to continue, and we're going to get a rematch at some point. Will that be at the Royal Rumble? Will it be at WrestleMania? I'm not sure. I feel like they might save it for Mania, where the outcome of that match, I have no idea. But I do believe that this is not the last that we will see of Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and we're going to get this rematch at some point very soon, because they showed Brock and he looked very pissed, and you have to expect that this is not going to be over. So like I said, overall, I thought it was a very good show. This was the best show that WWE has put on in Saudi Arabia since this deal started, since they started making all these millions of dollars off of them, that sweet Saudi money. And I enjoyed it. I give them all the credit in the world for putting on a very strong show here. I go into these shows hoping that they're going to be good, and you get ones like this. Heading in, had a lot of hype, had a lot of strong build, had a lot of matches that I was very much so looking forward to. Started strong, finished strong-ish, and what was in the middle was good enough to pull out a very good show for me. So, thumbs up from me, and thumbs up from you, thumbs down. I'm very curious what you have to say. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you liked, what you disliked. Do you agree with me? Do you not? What do you expect going forward now? I'm anxious to know, so leave your comments below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks, where I will tell you all about what goes on SmackDown tomorrow night, AEW, and anything else I want to talk about. Catch you guys the next video, which I believe will be my Full Gear review. Looking forward to that show, where we will have the main event of Hangman Adam Page versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. Very much so excited about that. So, until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate every single one of you who take the time out of your day, at your mornings, evenings, nights, whatever, to listen to me talk about all this pro wrestling stuff. Thank you, and I will check you all later.